Jason Rulo. This is blog number 4 on Pinnacle's video blog, and today I'm going to be discussing steady state cardio versus interval training. Interval training meaning intermittent, hard, then easy, hard, then easy type training, whereas steady state is more continuous. I'm going to go out and run 3 miles at the same pace type of thing. What you got to understand, and what most people don't understand, is that interval training produces at least as good of results as traditional cardio, if not better, because of the fact that you get a multitude of things that occur more than just burning calories, and that's really what I'm going to try to cover today as quickly as possible. I don't want it to get too far into it because there's a lot of science and stuff that will dry things out and get you guys confused. Real key is that you need to understand is that there's a fat burning myth that during exercise I have to be in my fat burning mode. The substrate, the actual substrate being used for the energy, if you're running at a certain pace or doing whatever, it doesn't really matter. It's not that big of a deal to run at this percentage of my heart rate max to make sure I'm burning fat. It's more calorie burn. That's the key. How many calories have you burned? The harder you work, the more calories you burn per unit of time. So the amount of time that you exercise, you're going to exercise for 30 minutes. That's typically people break it down and do 30 minutes of the cardio on the treadmill, 30 minutes on this, 30 minutes on that. Work as hard as you can for the 30 minutes. In fact, with interval training, you actually work harder than you can for 30 minutes. So you may do 10 minutes at a certain pace, or maybe just a minute at a certain pace, and have to back it off. Then you go back up and then back down. You can run on the treadmill. You can run one of their preset interval programs, but it doesn't need to necessarily be that. You say, okay, I'm going to do, if you typically run 3 miles at an 8-mile-an-hour pace, let's say I'm going to run as long as I can at a 9-mile-an-hour pace, and then I'm going to take that and do the equal amount of time at a walking pace, and then continually do that and try to increase the number of repetitions in which you do that. So it doesn't need to be really complicated. The idea is to go harder and then easy, and then harder and then easy, and then increase the number of repetitions. The history behind interval training, it started in the 1930s in Europe. Basically, they used it for track athletes to help get them in better shape, get them faster. It's grown in popularity over the last 2 to 3 years in the fitness industry to be used as a way to mix things up. I personally have been using it with my clients for about the last 8 years. We're a little bit ahead of the curve there, but they've been doing more studies now and showing congruent training where you include intervals into your strength training workout is maybe the way to go of the future. Well, that's the HiMax program. We've been doing protocols such as that for about 8 years as well. So that is something that's something that's coming along, and it may be the way of the future, but hey, we may be ahead of the curve on that too. The key with the interval training is that per unit of time, yes, you're burning the same amount of calories or very similar amount of calories. You might burn a little bit more in your steady state exercise, but the key with that is the interval training produces excess post-oxygen consumption, or EPOC, after burn. That is a technical term that's a non-technical term that's used with trainers. It's the amount of calories that you will burn after you stop exercising. Basically, it's the amount of stress the body has occurred on the body during exercise that will then increase the amount of calories that you will be burning even after you have stopped. So strength training has a large afterburn because the body has to recover, and it takes a long time to do that. Interval training has a high afterburn because there's a long stress on the body, a lot of stress on the body during the exercise. You burn a lot of sugar during the exercise, and therefore the body has to replenish that sugar after the workout, and that's part of the afterburn. Interval training hasn't been that popular in the past because, quite frankly, it's hard. It hurts, but that will elicit better response. If it hurts, hurts not injury hurt, but hurts meaning it's uncomfortable, it's going to elicit a better response. Now, the idea is to do that in a controlled way so that you can adequately recover. And if you're a novice, you're somebody who hasn't been exercising, it's probably not the best way to start. But we'll very quickly involve intervals in a workout as long as somebody can handle that amount. And we'll even put them through an interval training program, a novice. But it's got to make sure that things are controlled so that you can recover from it properly. But understand, a calorie is a calorie is a calorie. As long as you're burning those calories, the most intense way possible is the best way possible. So don't think that, oh, I need to go do cardio for 30 minutes. Say, hey, I'm going to do 20 to 25 minutes of hard intervals, a minute on, a minute off, whatever time frame you want to do. Have your trainer set up one for you, set up an interval program for you. You can use various modes, a bunch of different things. You can use calisthenics if you don't have any machines. That's the idea, is to mix it up, because the mixing it up is what the stress on the body is. If you can cause that stress on the body, hey, when we do our strength training programs with clients, we do not do the same workout twice. We may do it to show a progression in strength, but for the most part, we change the workouts up all the time. That constant guessing by the body is where you get your results. The constant change, the mixing it up. So that's the idea. If you like to do long distance run, fine, include that in there. But maybe do it once. If you typically do it 3 times a week, do it once or twice. Add a day of intervals in there. Add the strength training. If you're doing a balanced routine, you're doing 2 to 3 days of strength training. You're doing at least 1 day of continuous cardio, maybe 2, 1 or 2 days of intervals. It doesn't have to be all that complicated. You're just mixing it up, constantly changing it up. You got 5 days of exercise. 2 days you're doing strength training only. 1 day you're including strength training and some type of interval training or cardio at the end of the strength training. And maybe the other 1 or 2 days you're doing some interval training. That is a good balanced workout. You're getting all types of training in there, and you're keeping things fresh. You're not doing the same thing over and over and over again. There's so many options with interval training. That's why we promote that over traditional cardio training, because of the variety that can be there. The key thing I want you to take out of this: if you keep doing what you've done, you'll keep getting what you've got. You got to mix it up. You got to change things. For instance, in my protocol, I'm doing 3 days a week of strength training and 1 or 2 days of interval training and 1 or 2 days of cardio. That doesn't mean I'm exercising 6 days a week. It means I'm exercising 5 days a week, and I'm either choosing to do 2 interval days that week or 2 traditional cardio steady state days, and usually on one of the strength training days I'm adding a little bit of intervals in at the end of the workout. But I'm keeping it fun. I'm keeping it new and different. I don't want to keep things the same, because the body's going to get used to that. Mix it up, include intervals, and don't think there's one way to skin a cat, because in exercise there's not. There's multitude of ways, and we can show you how. Best way to ask your trainer, ask me, send me an email, put some comments on the blog. Look forward to hearing from you. Thanks again.